What's good, my people? Welcome into Buckets, Action Network's daily NBA betting podcast. We're in the workshop Thursday, NBA slate. I got my guy Kyle Murray with me recording live from our Tommy John home studios. End of the NBA regular season. We are in the grinder looking for plays, but we found a couple for you on a Thursday. You know how we do. We get a play, we get a cap, we get you guys out of here. There's a couple interesting games, but there's also a really good one in Memphis and the Timberwolves. We'll talk about that as well. KM, K1, I'm starting calling you K1. Kyle Murray, give me your best bet for the Thursday NBA slate.
Yeah, like you mentioned, it's the deep dark crevice of the NBA season right here. Only a few days left, so it's a little bit of a dive deep into the player props here. I got one play. We're looking at Tim Hardaway Jr. under 11.5 points in that Pistons and Knicks game. So that's the play for me.
I'm going to that game as well. You guys know I'm all over the Knicks all the time. We cashed out on Bridges the other day. Let's continue to cook. Precious Achiuwa, over 17.5 points plus rebounds, minus 130. There is a minus 120 in the market at Bet365 if you have access as we record this Wednesday at 11:40 p.m. All right, Murray, before we get into Timberwolves, Grizzlies, let's give our handicaps here. We both land on the same game. Injury report jumping a little bit here. No Josh Hart, no OG Anunoby. Cade Cunningham probable on the sheet as of right now. Mitchell Robinson also out. Talk to me. Tobias Harris probable for Detroit. They're the favorites here, -5, total 225.5. Talk to me about why you're looking at a prop here.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned it. Cade and Tobias both probable for this one. Pistons trying to secure that 5 and 6 spot, that battle between the Bucks to avoid playing this Knicks team in the playoffs, which I think they would hopefully cross their fingers they'll be able to do that. Matchup against the Pacers, I think, would be much better in the playoffs. So they're trying to do that. Obviously, with both of those guys returning to action, I don't think Tobias is going to come in and be this massive usage player for the Pistons. But obviously, with Cade Cunningham being in the fold and working his way up in minutes, played 33 minutes last game, we know that he's going to have the ball in his hands quite a bit here. And then THJ, so we're taking a couple minutes off the projection for him, with Tobias returning, obviously projecting for fewer usage as well. So far this season, with both Tobias and Cade Cunningham playing, THJ averaging just 9.9 points per game. So like the under here on this one. Also a very tough matchup against a team allowing the 10th fewest points per 100 of their opponents. Yes, you do have to factor in, no OG Anunoby, no Josh Hart. Defense will probably be a little bit softer here. But again, not expecting a ton of usage for THJ, not projecting, mid-30s minutes anymore with this team getting healthier. So I like the under on 11.5 points for THJ. And then also for defensive purposes, with this team trying to win this game, I would not be surprised to see Beasley and Asar Thompson, play in this game a little bit later than THJ. So I like the under here on 11.5 points.
Yeah, as of right now, Basketball Reference, Milwaukee is 92.2% to get the 5 as of right now, Wednesday, April 9th. Detroit Pistons, 96.1% to get the 6. Knicks in that 3, 99.6. They need one more W. So it does add a little bit of an element of intrigue here with the Knicks knowing, or a very likely chance that they're going to end up playing this exact Pistons team in the opening round of the playoffs. Personally, and then we talked about this, Matt and I, the other day on Buckets, and went off on a little bit of a tangent. But personally, I much rather had the Bucks and the Knicks play in the first round if you're a Knicks fan, like I am, working for the network and being closer to that team. Denver's young, yes. All that. I get it. They have a certain edge to them that I can appreciate. And it's an edge that the Knicks don't have. It's a physicality edge. Are they going to be able to keep up offensively with the Knicks? Probably not. But I much rather have played the Bucks. They're playing better defense, but that's so focused around one guy killing you. And Cade is that guy for the Pistons. But overall, the matchup I've seen with the Knicks and the Pistons in the Garden is not something I enjoyed. They played really hard-nosed ball, and that's just not the team's, you want to see early on in the playoffs. They're young. I get it. For the Pistons to win a first round series, I think the number's like minus 600. So even prior to the matchups being set in stone, I think we saw that over at DK at some point earlier today when I was looking through some future stuff. But I still much rather play the Milwaukee Bucks, even though they've been playing a lot better. I'm not mad at the Hardaway Jr. scope. I think it's a really good look just because it's just been a down year overall. I actually had high hopes for Tim Hardaway Jr. a couple of years back when he was a mainstay in the Mavericks rotation. I thought he was just a really, really good piece that would contribute offensively for many years to come and potentially on a lot of different teams that just needed shooting and offensive spark. He just hasn't become that guy that you can depend on consistently. So I'm not mad at that Tim Hardaway play. I want to talk about Precious Achiuwa because I think this is a really good spot to buy on a guy that is going to get minutes. Let's talk about the overall scope of the Knicks if you aren't that familiar. Tibbs needs to trust you before you get minutes. I think it's also been a big revelation for the New York Knicks that Jalen went down, Deuce McBride went down, Campaign went down, Landry Shamet, DeLon Wright, and some guys got some minutes that were actually positive minutes. And I think that'll end up being a positive thing for them because Tibbs will look down the bench and he will have no problem putting those guys in the game when it comes to the playoffs. Now, Precious Achiuwa is another guy Tibbs trusts. And when he's got minutes this year, even though it's been sparingly, he's done something with him. Now, no Mitchell Robinson, no Josh Hart, no OG Anunoby. Precious Achiuwa is going to be asked to do all the dirty work that all three of those guys do. He doesn't rebound as well as Josh Hart. He doesn't rebound as well as Mitchell Robinson. He definitely doesn't create as much as Josh Hart, but that's why I'm going with points plus rebounds. I think he could clean up the glass and help out Karl-Anthony Towns on that end quite a bit in this matchup. Not that big of a sample size without Josh Hart on the floor just because he doesn't miss any games. But in the 3 games he's missed this year, Precious Achiuwa has played 34 minutes. He's averaged 10 points, 10 boards. He's going to be active. He's going to be the guy cutting to the rim, running around without the ball, just like Josh Hart does on offense. I think this number's too low. I would have it closer to 18.5. Like even juiced to the over at that number. 18.5 minus 125, minus 130. I think 17.5, even if it's juiced to 130, 120 at Bet 365, you're getting a discount in this spot. So yeah, I'm gonna go Precious Achiuwa, a guy that I know is gonna play a lot of minutes because they're gonna need size, they're gonna need guys to rebound. And they're missing 3 hustle guys that muck things up against a team that you're going to need physicality against. I wouldn't not be shocked if Precious Achiuwa played 30, 32 minutes in this ball game. Kyle Murray, I know you mentioned you had a little extra sweetener you wanted to go through too at a price you liked.
Yeah, I like the a little sprinkle on the double-double number for Precious here, plus 290 over on DraftKings. And, like you mentioned, 30, 32 minutes, I think is a solid projection. In the initial run for me, I put him at 32 minutes. And that, spits out a 10.8 point projection, 8.8 rebounds. So pretty good numbers there for Precious. But I think there's actually upside for him to play even more minutes. I think he's in a really unique spot to where you mentioned all these guys out. That's going to kind of give him a baseline set of minutes here, right? Obviously, we're going to project him to start, and any starter for a Thibodeau team can play mid-30s minutes any given night. But you also factor in this equation of the postseason implications, right? Where the Knicks, like you mentioned, only have one more win to lock in that 3 seed. This is a game where, maybe it's not looking likely that they're going to win. Precious is a guy who could stay on the floor throughout the course of the fourth quarter while maybe Karl-Anthony Towns gets a little bit of extra rest. So, if we look at the box score tomorrow night after the game and Precious played 36 minutes, I would not be all that surprised at all. And it could be a game where, Cat maybe gets a little bit of a lighter load, plays 32, 33 minutes. And then also Precious is a guy who can just get it done in an efficient way on a permanent basis. Cat's going to have his hands full with Jalen Duren, so maybe Precious can benefit that way as well. So I think there's lots of paths to either increase efficiency for Precious or a few extra minutes for him here. So I think there's a lot of paths to success tonight for Precious. So I like this call.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And offensively, he's been really efficient all year long when he gets minutes. In February, shot 51% on almost 8 attempts from the floor, 54%, only 4 attempts in March. But if you've been watching the Knicks as closely as I have, he's shown a lot of really good flashes on offense, especially going to the cup. His offensive game has improved quite a bit since he's come over from Toronto. So if we go back to February, when he was getting bigger minutes with a lot of injuries. Saturday, February 1st, he played the Lakers. He played 29 minutes. He had 15 points, 15 boards. The next night against Houston, so an insanely good rebounding team, the best rebounding team in the NBA, best defensive team in the NBA, one of them, I should say. He had 7 points, 9 boards, but he's still pushing that 17.5 number against a really bad matchup in all actuality for him. Toronto, 36 minutes, 17 and 8 boards. Bad game against the Boston Celtics. He plays 33 minutes, scores 3 points, 4 rebounds. But I can't think of a worse matchup for Precious Achiuwa than the Boston Celtics, right? So this is not that for Precious Achiuwa. You continue to go up the ladder. He plays the Pacers, up and down game, 9 points, 12 boards. That's an over. Atlanta, wide open game, 26 and 8. The Bulls, 11 and 9. Against the Cleveland Cavaliers, 10 boards, 7 points in 28 minutes. Doesn't go over, but he's pushing that number. Then this month, last time he plays 30 minutes in the month of March, he played Golden State. He had 15 rebounds, 8 points. So I expect Precious Achiuwa to be extremely active. If you don't know who I'm talking about, get familiar. He'll be wearing a headband. He has braids. You'll see him out there. He'll be doing all the dirty work versus the Pistons. All right, Murray, I want to pick your brain about the Memphis Grizzlies and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Timberwolves coming off a flat-out enormous collapse. If you didn't see what the Milwaukee Bucks did to the Minnesota Timberwolves, came back on a 30+3 run to close the game to come back and win. Now they're asked to go on the road and go to Memphis. Ja Morant throwing grenades in the crowd. There's a lot of stuff going on with Ja and the Memphis Grizzlies. So it'll be a really fun matchup either way. Talk to me about where you're at with Memphis and the Minnesota Timberwolves just as a whole going into the playoffs here, because they're two really polarizing teams. And I'm interested to get your thoughts on Memphis. Let's start there with Memphis here being the very small favorite at home, -1, -112 on the money line. Total sits at 233.5.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it, like the whole polarizing debate between these two teams. It's honestly the best way to sum it up. These are two teams that they really haven't been full strength all year, whether it be just, small pieces here and there missing time or crucial pieces like for Memphis, we've seen John Morant miss an extended time, Jaren Jackson Jr. miss an extended period of time. Overall, I do think Memphis is the better team here. They're the team that I would probably back in a postseason series, and they're the team that I would back here. Like you mentioned, that the kind of the choke job by the Timberwolves. I just think the Timberwolves are a very volatile team when they're on their A game, when they're shooting efficiently. There's probably not many teams that are going to completely make them look like they're not in the same tier. But again, when they're not on their A game, when they're not playing excellent defense, when Anthony Edwards is shooting 20% from 3 like he likes to do on some nights, and he will not stop shooting if he's having one of those cold nights, they're susceptible to massive swings like that 34-3 run they gave up the other night against a Minnesota team that was not or a Milwaukee team that was not full strength. So it's definitely a scenario where I think this Timberwolves team is extremely hot or cold, extremely volatile. I think that their range of outcomes in a postseason series is very, very high. While Memphis, I think that it's a little bit tighter for them. Again, I would like to see. I wish we had a more, a stronger sample on a full season basis of all these guys being healthy. Obviously, getting rid of Taylor Jenkins 2 weeks before the playoffs was an interesting little happening there, and the Nuggets doubled down on that, and they got rid of their head coach and their GM. So maybe
GM,
it's an upcoming trend in the NBA. But overall, I think I would probably back the Grizzlies here. Again, I think there's more more stable team, a team I feel better about on a projection basis. Like when you're looking at the numbers, a team that will actually back up those numbers and play up to those numbers. While the Timberwolves, on the other hand, are going to be more of a sporadic team, right? They're going to be that team that's more susceptible to the massive swings. So I think I would probably back the Grizzlies in a postseason matchup here. I don't think people are talking, or at least not the national media, of this Western Conference playoff race. Like all year, we've heard about, oh, the NBA is not as entertaining as it once was, blah, 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 or stuff like that, or, sports betting and fantasy sports is ruining the NBA. But this is one of the best playoff races we've seen in sports recently.
Yeah,
And
no doubt.
it's just not getting talked about enough. Like, so I think it's very intriguing. This 3 through 8 spot could easily be, completely, upended come Sunday. So I think it's a really exciting kind of narrative there, and obviously this game is going to be a key part in that, with Grizzlies being currently tied for the 4 through 7 seeds, and then Timberwolves just behind them in the 8th spot. So very exciting game, but I got the Grizzlies here.
Yeah, I think that's actually really well said, Murray. The West is crazy. So if you think about it, so we're talking about Timberwolves, they have 3 games left. If they beat Memphis, the next 2 are Utah and Brooklyn. That puts them at 49 wins.
Yep.
They have a chance to get to the 5 if things really shake in their direction. If they lose a couple of those, they could be in the play-in.
Yeah.
And that goes for quite a few teams throughout the Western Conference. So, yeah, I agree. And I think there's going to be some really interesting series numbers in this first round of the playoffs in the West. There's going to be some spots where you could get some really good numbers on teams that are going to be really good, especially teams like the like the Warriors, like Houston. You'll get some really interesting numbers on a lot of different teams. As we record this, the Nuggets are up 10 on the Kings. They really need that win as well. Right now, I think this is a perfect example of what we're talking about. Any play-in tournament team to reach the second round of the playoffs is minus 200. That's telling you right there how competitive some of these teams. I think that's even that number being minus 2-1 on your money is talking exclusively about the Western Conference.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some series in these playoffs that are extremely entertaining. And when you get down to just the basketball part, yeah, this has been an awesome NBA year, and it will be an awesome NBA playoff. This basketball season, when your favorite star scores a bucket, we're alley-ooping an opportunity to win money from watching sports with Underdog. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and you can play now in your state. To play, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats, like points, assists, rebounds, and more. They've got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. You can play with as little as $1, and if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So turning $1 into 1,000 with just your hoops knowledge. Download the Underdog app and sign up now using the promo code BUCKETS100 to unlock a special offer up to 1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with promo code BUCKETS100. Claim your special offer today and get up to 1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. All right. To recap, K1, Kyle Murray, Tim Hardaway Jr. under 11.5 points, minus 115. I'm on Precious Achiuwa over 17.5 points and rebounds, minus 130, minus 120. Currently at Bet365 as we record this Thursday at the stroke of midnight. We're also going to sprinkle a little bit on Precious Achiuwa, double. What was the number, K1? Like plus 290?
Yeah, plus 290 over on DraftKings. Yep.
Plus 290 on DK. Precious Achiuwa is going to get the minutes. He will get the activity. I'm going to sprinkle on that as well as over 17.5 points plus rebounds. For Kyle Murray, I am your host, Sean Little. Go download the Action Network app. Go buy some Tommy John underwear. Go subscribe to the Action Network YouTube page. Our thanks to my boy, David Payne, for always holding it down. Until next time, which is tomorrow, let's get buckets, baby.